Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles. My name is Steve Harris and this is my story. Being married to Aisha was exciting, frustrating, and painful. Throughout our 4 years of marriage, somehow, I never felt married. Well, I felt married, she didn't. Aisha was concerned about her figure, clothes, getting a green card, obtaining a master's degree, and making a lot of money. I was never really part of the equation. Aisha is 5 feet 4 inches with blonde hair, small waist, flawless Middle Eastern/Eurasian complexion, green eyes, and a 36C cop. She has the kind of sexuality about her that makes men get primitive. For her, sex was a weapon to be used to manipulate every male she came in contact with. I don't miss her personality. I do miss the way she could rock my world in bed. There was very little she wouldn't do, and I loved her lust. I never felt any real affection or love from her. Now that I think about it, I can't remember her ever saying she loved me. It was not a term used in our relationship. Looking back, there never was a relationship. We just went through the motions. I have been living in an ice castle and never realized it. She never wanted slow, passionate lovemaking. She didn't want foreplay. She wanted it hard and raw. The animalistic sex was plentiful. I often longed for the emotional intimacy she denied me. Aisha never gave me a hug. She used my body and I used hers. The difference being that I loved her. She never loved me. I was able to take care of her needs, but not a lot of her wants. I went into some serious debt trying. I'm a high school teacher. I make a decent living, but I'll never be rich. I did my best. There was no way I could hang with the country club said. It was not enough for her. The greedy bitch. When I met her 5 years ago, she was a nanny. I was immediately impressed with her beauty and intelligence. From the beginning, she was egotistical and selfish. I always saw more good in her than actually existed. I felt like a moth that was irresistibly drawn to the flame that would kill him. Don't ask me why. I guess I wanted to, needed to. Maybe I was thinking with the wrong head. I wish there had been a way for me to keep the sex and get rid of her. So the obvious question is why I put up with her manipulating, callous, and deceitful ways for so long. Until recently, I never thought of myself as a whip. Looking back, I guess I was. Somehow, I thought of my patience and tolerance as strength. I promised her father, in Turkey, that I would provide for and protect his daughter. It was important to me that I kept my word. I was raising twin sons from a previous disaster called a marriage and did not want to be divorced again. When I met Aisha, all I wanted was a home and a woman to come home to more than anything. I guess I saw what I wanted to see until I had no choice. I really don't want to argue, Steve. It's over between us. You know that, she said, as she dressed to leave our house on a recent Friday night. I need to be with my friends. You mean your boyfriend, I said. Don't get jealous. You know we can't stay together. I'm not jealous. You said you wanted to pursue your own life 4 months ago. Why are you still here? You being here does not allow me to get on with my life. My patience with you is finished. Don't worry, I'll be gone soon. She looked stunning. Her full red lips, perfume, and sexy black dress left little to the imagination. She was going to meet another man and didn't care that I knew about it. I had always been gentle and kind to her, but that was about to change. His disrespect for me and my sons was intolerable. I knew that I still cared about her. I also knew that I had reached my limit. Aisha and her boyfriend were going to find out that there would be a price to pay for their treachery and disrespect. My anger grew as I watched her. I used to need you here. What has gotten into you? What did I do to deserve this treatment? Did you think I was going to tolerate this crap? Your social life has always been more important than your husband? I have put up with your shit for too long. You've been lying to me for a long time. I know what you've been doing. Tonight, I can't deny it anymore. You treat me and my sons like crap. You really bake on the promise I made to your father that I would protect you from harm. Somehow, my sense of honor and love for you has been turned against me. You have never helped pay a single bill. I supported you as you struggled to get your MBA and through a number of nothing jobs. Now that you've got yourself a big-time job in an investment bank, I'm not good enough for you. Is that it? I could feel my guts boiling. I hate being around your bastard sons. I hate it every time I see them. Every time you wrote a child support check, I wanted to puke. Now they're here, and I don't want to be their mother. Besides, you have no sophistication. You're just a simple man who wants a simple life. I need more than you can give, she said, with an indifference and coldness that could not be ignored. She really thought she was somehow superior to me. Bitch, you have 1 week from today to get your stuff out of my house. If you and your possessions are not gone at that time, I will put it in boxes and set it on the street. After next Friday, you will not be allowed in my house. I will no longer be held captive by the promise that I made to your father. We are finished. I can't stand the sight of you. I was glad that my sons were with my sister for a couple of weeks. They didn't need to be exposed to her another second. She looked shocked. She was beginning to realize that I had changed. I was not going to take care of her needs anymore. My stomach felt twisted. It felt like I'd been gunshot. I hated myself for still feeling something for her. I wanted to hurt her. At the same time, I grieved for the love that never was, except in my mind. Despite my complete hatred of what she was doing and who she really was, I felt a strange bond with her. It wasn't love. That had been dying slowly for a long time. I felt sorry for her, even though she only deserved my contempt. I truly believed she would end up the victim of her own karma. Her treachery deserved none of my sympathy. My sons are not bastards. I was married to their mother. Don't say that again, I growled with menace. I've had enough of your disrespect. And when did you get to be the queen? I just like to know why do you hate them and me so much? Their whore of a mother dumped them on you, and you dumped them on me. You never have any money. You spend all of your time and income on them. I don't hate you. I don't know how I feel about you. Some part of me still cares about you. But I don't love you, Steve. I need the finer things in life. I deserve that. I never should have married a man with children. I need a man who can give me his full attention, she said, picking up her purse. The only reason I married you was to get a green card and live rent-free until I could arrange my life, and when I needed your dick or anything else, you always said yes. Sorry, dear, she said, mockingly. She had no idea that I was recording the conversation. You've got a lot of nerve calling somebody a whore. You are more of a whore than my ex ever was. I can't remember you ever trying to be in their lives. You haven't been a wife and definitely not a mother. The days of obliging you are over. From now on, you can take care of yourself. You are as plastic as the fancy cars and restaurants that you love so much. You knew from the beginning my ex left me in a pile of debt. I pay the mortgage, buy the food, and everything else. Did you never try to help me? Did you? I said, raising my voice. All you have done since I married you is spend my money. Why did you really marry me? I didn't really expect an answer. I don't have a lot of cash because I have paid your bills. You have never contributed 1 cent to this household. Have you ever been denied anything that you needed since we've been together? You have served your purpose. In a short while, I will have my green card. I have my education and now a great profession. I don't need you anymore, sorry. I know that's cold. It's the way things are. I might miss your lovemaking a little, but not much. Is this bigger than you? What was that about? She was driving the nail deeper. It took all of my martial arts training not to lash out at her. I wanted to wring her neck and throw her in the street. I decided not to let her bait me. Did you ever love me? She looked at me with an evil grin, but didn't answer. I could tell she didn't want to set me off before she was ready to go. The look on her face was my answer. Then, I heard a car horn blow in front of my door. You are one sick piece of work. You're lucky I haven't thrown your ass in the street months ago, I said, feeling sad and exhausted. Don't wait up. I probably won't be back tonight, she said sarcastically. The doorbell rang. The son of a bitch had the nerve to come to my front door. I opened it. Is Aisha here? He asked with a smirk on his face. So you're the wimp who can't control his bitch, he said, brushing past me, entering my house. Aisha came downstairs and approached the door with a smug look on her face. She stood close to Sam. I found out his name was Sam Bennett. He was engaged to a rich, divorced woman who had 2 kids. I wondered if Aisha knew that. My loving husband just threatened me. He told me I have 1 week to get out. What do you think about that, Sam? She asked her date. I think I should kick his ass right now for upsetting you, he said, looking at me. I would like for you to try that, Sam, preferably in front of witnesses. It would be a shame to make your fiancée a widow before she was married. It would be my pleasure to punish you in front of witnesses and teach you some respect, I said calmly, with the smile of predator stalking his kill. He had a confused look on his face. My confidence rattled his confidence. Aisha's expression didn't change. She obviously already knew of Sam's impending marriage. I figured they had a plan to relieve his fiancée her of her funds, another scam. Those two deserved each other. I decided to screw up their plans. Never mind him, Sam. Let's go. I want him to sit here and think about you fucking me with your big dick. I started to tell her to stay gone. I realized I need time to exact my revenge. A few more days were all I needed. I decided not to hurt him at that moment. He was not worth getting arrested for. Apparently, Aisha didn't tell him that I am proficient in the Filipino martial art of Kali, the art of combat at close quarters. I wondered why. He was taller than me by about 4 inches. I knew that made him feel overconfident. It was hard to resist the urge to cut him down like a tree. He leaned toward me and whispered, "Did she tell you that I fucked her in your bed?" he said, daring me to respond. Sooner or later, his ass was mine. I watched as his Lexus pulled away from the curb. I knew his name, address, telephone number, and place of employment. He was her supervisor at her bank. I had collected a ton of their smutty emails and had pictures of them in various compromising positions in public places. Aisha liked the thrill of being his submissive slut in public. I wondered what her father would say when he saw my pictures. I never wanted to hurt her. Her treatment of me and my sons was deliberately cruel. It was past time that I made sure she couldn't inflict any more pain on them or me. They were 4 years old. They could never understand why Aisha didn't like them. I hated myself for exposing them to her poison as long as I did. They came to me full-time a couple of years ago when their mother dropped them off and disappeared. It was difficult to convince them. It was not their fault. Aisha's refusal to spend time around them turned into a good thing. I was able to devote my time in being the best father I could. My wife and her piece of crap boyfriend had to pay. It was not normal for me to be vindictive. I decided to allow myself to use retribution to assuage my pain. My lawyer would have the divorce papers in a few days. I know she thought she could abuse me forever. I was glad that I had nothing worth stealing except my house, a modest mutual fund investment, and my eventual pension. I wanted the satisfaction of serving her before she could serve me. Strangely, I got the feeling she was in no big hurry for a divorce. Being married gave her the freedom to screw around without making any commitments. She was happy with the status quo, at least for now. Even though she would never admit it, she depended on my consistency and stability. She would leave with nothing but regrets. I knew she underestimated my resolve. My plan was in motion. The next step was a visit to the Department of Immigration and Naturalization. I had an appointment with a Ms. Saunders. When I found her cubicle, I was awestruck. She was beautiful. No, more than that, she was stunning. I was expecting an overweight, disgruntled bureaucrat. "Mr. Harris," she said, smiling at me and extending her hand. "Please, have a seat. I understand you are here to report a case of immigration fraud. Is that right?" she said, smiling. I didn't answer at first. I was lost in her eyes. Her raven black hair and big brown eyes and radiant smile hypnotized me. My body ached from not being with a woman for a long time. If I had to order the perfect woman, it would have been her. I could feel my heart rate increase. She awakened feelings in me that I thought were dead. I struggled to focus. "I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you are much prettier than I expected. I hope I'm not being too forward," I said, sitting down. She blushed and looked down at her desk modestly. "Thank you, Mr. Harris. I haven't heard such a nice compliment in a good while. Let's get down to the business at hand, Mr. Harris. Why are you here?" she said in her most professional voice. I told her the whole story. My soon-to-be ex-wife married me for the purpose of getting a green card. She never loved me and planned on dumping me when her plan was completed. The entire marriage was a sham, a fraud, and I don't want her to get away with it. "Do you have any proof of what you're saying?" I took a tape recorder out of my pocket and several pictures. I played the tape. My face showed the obvious pain it cost. I don't know if I could use it in court, but it should make my point. I also have pictures of her having sex with her boyfriend in the parking lot of a restaurant and other places. They were not very discreet. She looked at the pictures with a poker face. "I think we have enough to proceed, Mr. Harris. We'll be in touch with you," she said, standing up. "We take a very dim view of immigration fraud, especially since 9/11. Thank you for alerting this office." She sounded very professional. "Now that we have the business out of the way, would you have dinner with me tonight?" I said with pleading eyes. I could sense her ambivalence. I could see her mind appraising the situation in me. "By the way, what is your first name?" "Denise Saunders. Glad to meet you. I'm Steve." "Well, what do you say, Denise? It is not good policy to take work out of the office. I promise not to mention anything about my ex. No business tonight. I have not had a woman's company for a long time, especially a lady as lovely as you are. Come on, it's just dinner. Even immigration officials have to eat. I promise to be a perfect gentleman." I waited for her response and hoped for the best. After a few moments of looking at my best smile, she said okay with reservations. "Great. What time would you like me to pick you up? If you could meet me in the front of the building at 5:30, we can have an early dinner. I'll call my sitter and tell her I'll be a little late. I can't believe I'm doing this. There is something about you that I trust. I don't know why. You won't be sorry. I promise," I said, trying to control my enthusiasm. I felt like a teenager going on his first date. I had time to go home, get cleaned up, and be back in plenty of time. I realized for the first time in months, I felt good. At dinner, we spoke of many things. She loosened up after a while, and I had the feeling that we had known each other a long time. We were both happy to be in the company of each other. She told about her divorce and her 7-year-old daughter, named Hannah. We talked about her love of cooking and hiking, and I talked to my sons and my love of martial arts and motorcycles. We discovered that we were very different, yet compatible. I found myself wanting to hug her. I kept imaging her body pressed against mine with fiery passion in her eyes. She picked up on my distraction. "What are you thinking? You have such a faraway look in your eyes," she said, with affection, looking at me intently. "I was hoping that you were having as much fun as I am. When I look at you, I get a warm feeling. I see passion and strength in your eyes. From the first moment I saw you, I felt a connection. I feel it too. What is happening here? We just met. I don't even know you. Maybe we just better slow down." That sounds like good advice, very logical. But I'm just going with the flow. If I get too carried away, please just tell me. I don't want to offend you or have you think I'm some kind of nut. No, actually I'm flattered. I never thought of myself as being that attractive. For the record, I think that every woman I see from this day onward will come in second to you. I couldn't shake the feeling that we had known each other before. Maybe, in a different lifetime we have been lovers. I can't believe you. Look at my face. Do I look like I'm kidding? She didn't answer. The expression on her face said she understood. How do you feel about what your wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, I interjected. Steve, how do you feel about her betrayal and manipulation? Denise asked, changing the subject. I thought for a moment to collect my thoughts. My face betrayed the pain that I thought I was past. I feel sad, hurt, and angry. My ego has taken a serious beating. I never had a chance to make her happy. I was set up from the beginning. I can't understand her need to disrespect me. Maybe, that hurts more than anything. Could be. There is nothing more to understand than what you see. She's what she is. You're a gentle, kind man. I know that in my heart. You don't deserve how she has treated you. Fortunately, Denise didn't see the other side of me. The part that I kept carefully controlled and reserved for when I needed it. What would you like to see happen to her? She married me to get a green card, among other things. I think the only fitting punishment would be to make sure her ass gets a one-way ticket back to Istanbul and nothing in the divorce. I said, clenching my fists. Denise reached across the table and took my hands in hers. I could feel her energy and her compassion. It calmed me down. We spoke of what to do about Aisha. How did your ex-husband ever let you go? He didn't. I ran. He wanted me to be his punching bag forever. Unfortunately for him, I had other plans. When he struck Hannah, it was the last straw. I couldn't take it anymore. I left him and never looked back. That was 3 years ago. I'm glad he was such a fool. If he wasn't, we wouldn't be here, and I would not be sitting here holding your hand. The thought of anyone hurting Denise enraged me. A small band started playing. They were pretty good. Would you like to dance, lady? They're playing our song. Really? What song is that? Whatever they're playing, I said, pulling her to me, beginning to sway to the music. The feeling of her breast pressed against my chest and the scent of her perfume had a strong effect on Mr. Happy. I felt her relax and meld into me. When she felt my excitement, she looked at me a moment and pressed the heat of her womanhood against me. I thought I would have an orgasm right there. Don't worry about Aisha. I'll take care of everything tomorrow, she whispered in my ear as we danced. I realized that I saw more than passion and strength in her eyes. I saw her soul and my future. We kissed with gentle passion and held each other tightly when I took Denise home. I wanted her, and I knew she wanted me. We both knew without speaking, the next time we were together we would make love. I tore myself away from her. Trying to sleep that night, I kept seeing her face and hearing her laugh. I thought, could I be in love already? I wasn't sure. All I knew was that life goes on. Self-pity and regrets are a waste of time, and I had wasted enough time. I was happy. When I returned home, Aisha was in the kitchen sitting at the table. I'm glad you're here, I said, sitting across from her. Friday is your last day. I will be home by 6 p.m. Please be here. I have something important to say to you before you go. Will you do that for me? Why don't you tell me now? No, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I will be glad to get my bed back. I've been in that guest room for a year. I went into the den to watch some TV. 20 minutes later, Aisha was standing in the doorway wearing the black lingerie I had bought her for our second anniversary. She looked as sexy as ever. I was angry with myself when my body responded. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing she still had that power over me. Steve, you can have me if you want to. It's been so long. Tomorrow, I'm walking out of your life forever. Tonight, you can take me anywhere you want for old time's sake. I'm yours, she said in her most sultry voice. I know you still care for me. I see it in your face. Could we forget all of our differences and problems for one night, please? I stood up and walked towards her, placing my hands gently on her face. She looked hopeful. I wouldn't fuck you with the dog's dick, I said, pushing her face away from me. A pained and confused expression crossed her face. I would remember that look forever. Her last attempt to manipulate and use me had failed. I didn't hate her. What I felt was worse. I felt nothing, numb, empty. I just knew that I needed to get away from her. To feel anything but revulsion would be to invite more heartache. I slept restlessly that night. When the sun rose, my plan for retribution would begin. At 9 a.m., I was in my lawyer's office. Okay, Steve. I'll have your divorce documents today by 3 o'clock. What else? I want to sue Sam Bennett for alienation of affection or intentional infliction of emotional distress or something. I want him to pay. He didn't actually cause my marriage to fall apart, but I want him to pay anyway. I also want to sue the bank for not enforcing its morals clause in Sam Bennett's contract. They knew he was fucking my wife and allowed it to happen. I want to serve these papers personally today at 4 p.m. Can we do this? I hope you're not planning on doing something stupid, said my lawyer. This situation might get really ugly. It is legal for you to serve the papers as long as there is a witness. I hope it does get ugly. I really do. It's better if you don't know what I'm planning, I said with a look of steel determination. I arrived at Sam Bennett's office at 4 o'clock. A clerk showed me where he was. I saw him leaning over a secretary, placing his face too close to hers. She was trying to put some space between him and her. He looked up in time to see me coming. As I walked towards him, I slipped into the relaxed focus that I call combat mode. Sam was about to experience some serious pain. He looked worried, then defiant. "What are you doing here, Harris?" He was not going to wait long to get his answer. "I have some gifts for you," I said, handing him a copy of my divorce papers naming him as the correspondent in adultery. He looked annoyed. Everyone in the office was watching. I handed him another document. "This document is a lawsuit charging you with alienation of affection causing the breakdown of my marriage. And this is a copy of my lawsuit against your bank for allowing this blatant affair to continue in full view and knowledge of your supervisors in violation of the bank's morals clause of your contract." I gave him some of the explicit pictures I had of him and Aisha. "Your boss really liked those pictures," I said with a smile. "Is that it?" He was really angry now. I could see the blood rushing to his head. He could barely contain himself. "One more thing," I said, walking away from him and stopping. "Your fiancée should be receiving these papers and pictures right about now by messenger service. I guess she is not too happy with you at the moment. I think she might want her car back." "Who's getting fucked now, asshole?" When he started to rush towards me yelling, "I'll kill you," I knew I had him where I wanted him. I smiled as he ran towards me with clenched fist. My day of retribution was at hand. The next several seconds seemed to move slowly. I waited for his attack and easily sidestepped his charge, sending 2 rapid punches to his liver, followed by a flurry of blows to his torso. Then, I drove my knee into his groin hard enough to lift him off the floor. This was followed by a slap to his ear which ruptured his eardrum. A sweeping backward movement of my leg took his legs away as a simultaneous palm strike broke his nose. He hit the floor with a thud. He wasn't dead, but I had seriously upset his day. Lucky for him, the blow to his nose was intended to break it, not drive the cartilage into his brain. I had considered that option. As the fog of battle lifted, I heard clapping. It seemed to grow louder and louder. The secretary that Sam had been harassing was applauding. This was followed by more clapping. I seemed every woman in the office joined in and was happy that Sam got his ass kicked. Obviously, no one was shedding any tears for him. I stood there surprised by their support. "Call the police and tell them to bring an ambulance," I said to the nearest secretary. "I think Sam over here has a bad headache." She handed me a slip of paper with her phone number on it. She whispered, "Call me." The police questioned me at length. They couldn't understand how so much damage could be done to Sam in less than 6 seconds. There were 15 witnesses that said I had acted in self-defense after Sam attacked me, threatening to kill me. Reluctantly, they told me to go home and that they would have some questions for me later. I felt good on the drive home. One of my tormentors had been dealt with. Now, there was one to go. When I arrived home, I called Denise and asked her to meet me at home when she got off from work. Aisha showed up exactly at 6 p.m. She was irate. "Steve, what the hell have you done? That scene you pulled in my office was humiliating. Everyone in the office is talking about it. I'll lose my job. You almost killed Sam. I never knew you could be so heartless and cruel." "Cruel? You're calling me cruel? You fucked the dipshit in my bed and you're calling me cruel? You have one hell of a lot of nerve." "He's damn lucky to still be breathing," I said, trying to control myself. "Who is this bimbo?" she inquired, finally recognizing Denise's presence. "This is no bimbo as you put it. Denise is my very good friend," I said, putting my arm around Denise's waist and kissing her on her cheek. "Denise works for the Department of Immigration and Naturalization." The look on Aisha's face was priceless, and she began to understand something was up. "Why's she here?" "I wanted her here to wish you a safe trip." "Trip? I'm not going anywhere." "Oh yes you are," I said, opening the front door. 3 men waited outside, 2 G-man types and a short balding fellow. They came inside and immediately the short guy asked, "Aisha Harris?" "Yes. You've been served. These papers are suing you for divorce for adultery." He turned and left. That left to 2 men in black. Her jaw dropped. She looked at me, then at them. She looked like she had just been sentenced to death. They showed their ID and badges and said, "We have credible information that your immigration status in this country was obtained fraudulently. Please come with us. We have a few questions we'd like to ask you." As she was escorted out, she stopped and turned towards me. "Steve, you promised that you would never let any harm come to me," she said, looking for my protection. I hesitated a moment and looked at her with no emotion and said, "I lied." I closed the door on her and that chapter of my life forever. Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.